Happy New Year. I think this is the last time I can say this before it's going to get really old. Today's all about goals. Let's get into it. Welcome to What the RFI. I'm Matt Brennan, and this is the podcast all about CA. So we engage into a new year. 2025 is here. I'm excited. I've got some big plans. We're going to dive that right into it. And Happy New Year to you too. So, question is, what have you set for goals for 25? I know we're kind of jumping late, like New Year's resolution, that was, 3 weeks ago, but did you set any? Did you actually follow through with setting any of these goals? And, why do we even set these to begin with? And that's kind of always the question. Everyone's different in their journey, but you know what? Goals are really, really important, I find. It just gives you something to work towards too. And we're getting into good practices of writing them down and following up. But it does push you. It gives you a moment to reflect, prune, etc. And that's why we do them. You're never ever going to advance if you don't do it. So if anything you're going to take from this is actually doing it, then you're 10 steps further than you were before. Okay. One of the things when I set my goals, it wasn't a New Year's resolution. I always I felt like my year actually started when school started back in September, right? When you'd take the kids and everything, it was a new school year, a new journey, then the summer would hit. And that was kind of it. What did you achieve during that work time? Because you go into summer brain and everything. So I think either do one or the other. Either you're going to set your goals January 1st, or like I said, you kind of set it for the new school year and you follow that, whatever you do. But the thing is, get into a habit of doing it. And that's what we're going to get into. And we will bring in both personal and business goals. So on that note, let's jump into the personal goals. What is your personal goals? I'm going to share a little bit of a journey of myself about last year. As of January 1st of 24, I finally called it. I went and got a gym pass, and I meant to get a gym pass once I started my new role at my new company I'm at, doing sales from my desk and everything. And I thought, this is great. I'm gonna have a lot more flexibility, more different hours. I can go work out. And that was back in September 23. So finally, January rolled around and I said, that was enough. Made a decision over the Christmas break that I was going to walk into that gym and get it. And it was cliche. It was such a funny, the irony of walking into the gym first day saying, I need a gym pass, no excuse, we're doing it. And probably, many others signed up for the same day because that's just the way it works. But I'm glad I actually did sign up for a gym pass because I worked at it. And it was way better than doing a leisure center where you had a drop-in fee or something like that. It allowed me just to get in there and get it done. And I worked real hard with it. January, February, I really pushed myself because I was the heaviest I ever been. I was around 215, 216. My face showed it. It was incredible. I was just looking at photos the other day and going, wow, what a different person I am today versus then. And I worked my butt off. I found the best way was I was running a minimum 30 to 40 minutes on the treadmill. That was my first workout. Throw some good music on, just book it. And then I worked on abs, a bunch of crunches, stretches, getting all kind of loosen up. So again, that would be another 20 minutes. And then I'd go into pumping out weights. And it was a really good thing. And just a little tip for me, what I found out really worked out well, I downloaded an app called Fitbod. I have no association with them, of course. And it's great. It just kind of tracks your workouts. It tells you what you should be doing. And overall, really impressed for the $60 a year. Happy, I just renewed it and absolutely money well spent, in other words. But it was really cool to see the progress. And I did take selfie photos just for myself, didn't post them, but just taking photos in that respect. And what was really good is it was seeing the progress and really seeing, and then again, seeing it through photos. Over the last few years or this year and the last few months, I did a couple conferences and I got the photos from people and I go, man, that person looks good. And it was me. It felt really good. It felt really special in that sense, not being conceited or having ego in that sense, but at the same time, I've worked really hard for it and I am a different person because of that. So setting your goals, your personal goals, if that's one of them, along with many others, jump onto it, right? There's never a bad time to start. Just get in and do it. And if you've done it in the past, well, it's more just giving yourself a kick in the butt to get back on the horse and just book it and do it. So that was one of my own personal goals with it. Maybe that's yours. And the other kind of goal too was reflecting on yourself. That's always a good thing. It's always kind of, what can you do to be a better person? What can you do better in your day-to-days, your habits? Who do you need to call? All those little things for it. So, from the personal side, whatever, maybe it's a trip. I've got a couple of trips, I want to do this year. And so it's definitely some bucket list in respect to that. But business goals, this is what the podcast is all about. What are we going to do in business? Okay. Like I said, I'm kind of pushing it back to you. What are you going to do in 25 as a business goal? Where does your firm stand at? Where do you stand in your career? All these different milestones. Are you going to be gunning for a raise at that point? Are you going to be trying to get that association position? If those are kind of the goals that you want, how are you going to do that? And, go in that in a minute. Okay. Maybe, the big trends, what we're seeing on the markets, are you planning on using AI this year? If you haven't even considered using AI, this might be the year to actually get involved with it. Start doing it. Seeing what can you use AI in your architectural practice to really push your designs that much further, your productiveness, your renderings, your video animations. What can you do to be better in front of the client? Okay. And based on the channel about CA, what are you going to do in CA? We've been living in the past, it feels like, when it comes to CA, that we're just stuck in the same ruts. We're doing the same thing over and over. We're doing our field reviews with our phone on site, which is great. At least you're taking a photo there. Maybe you're taking an old digital camera, coming back to the office, putting Microsoft Word, fighting with it. Oh, by the way, that report took a week to get out. Just these little things, like really going back to that reflect what you're doing in the business side of things. And what can we do better? What can we do? The company I work for, part3.io, that's the website. They actually just released a blog post about the top 15 tools in CA. Have a look through there. There's a lot of good scenarios. We talked about Planger. We talked about the FieldWire. We've been talking, just some different tools. Of course, Part 3, in respect. What can we do better into that? I've got a talk that I'm going to release on this on the podcast probably in the next week or two or something like that. But it's basically, where's CA and where is it going? And I think that'd be a really good episode to kind of look forward to, listen. And it talks about all the different tools out there in CA that are really changing the game from the architect's standpoint. So stay tuned, check it out, and that. But I would encourage you, in respect to that, again, think about your firm. What are you doing different? Are you still doing everything manual where you're logging everything in Excel? Again, cheap sales pitch here, but Part 3, seriously, have a look at it. It will change your world. It changed my professional career in that sense. The other thing is too, like the day-to-day CA that we do with the contractors, they're running the show with Procore. And I've been speaking to so many architects that go, oh yeah, that's how we do our business. And then we get talking about the challenges that they find with that. Does it make sense to have the contractor in control? And there is other ways where you should be bringing your own logs back and forth and taking control of the project. Having your own logs is critical, because any job that goes sideways and the contractor's on Procore, he's got his logs and data, but you got your logs. And I've been talking to a few clients and everything where they had that scenario where they've been charged with a delay claim, and it was something like $2 million. And because they had their own logs intact, that $2 million lawsuit dropped to $100,000 because they had their info. They had their logs all intact. They just gave that to the lawyers. They looked at it and went, well, of course, yeah, we know where the cracks formed, and it clearly wasn't with you. It was with the contractor and so on. And then in this case, in this particular client, they actually went through it again. The contractor launched another lawsuit, and that $2 million additional lawsuit turned into a $40,000 settlement. It's all about keeping track, keeping the logs intact and that. And there's a lot of power with that. So, what are you doing for CA? Are you doing field reviews on the old school way? Are you still tracking everything through Excel? There is options out there. And I think there's better ways of doing this in respect of it. So have a look at that. And that kind of brings us up to the next point of write it down. Okay, we've brainstormed, we've talked about these ideas, and that's great. Thinking about it, that's the first step. Having the conversation, the lunchtime conversation, water cool conversation, in those leadership meetings that you do, very powerful. But the most to take that from that thought to an actual action is grab that pen and paper and do it by physical. Don't just type it. Again, there's something to pen and paper, right? Write it down, write it in a journal that you can keep next to your desk, your side table, whatever. It doesn't matter. Again, personal, business, write it down and really reflect and pull that book out once a quarter. Put it in your calendar, a reoccurring event every quarter, pull it out, check in with yourself, how you're doing it, and do something with it, right? Go from this goal, writing it down, and how are you going to get there? One thing, my partner, she actually did this for the previous year and wrote it down. And it was so cool sitting down and looking at all those goals that were written down and what she did achieve and what she was still working towards. And what a beautiful moment that is to just, look what I've done. Look where I've come. You can actually track where you've been and where you've gone through this, right? It's kind of like a hike, but you're seeing it on paper. You're seeing it through your career. So we get so lost with the busyness, right? You get beyond that. And this is just a way to really reflect on that. And again, just to continue to check in as well. So physically write it down and you won't regret it in that respect. So what are some goals of my own? Well, for the podcast, big one, okay? It's consistency. I apologize. I've been so busy with life, with personal life and everything, and things have been flipped upside down, and I have not been posting regularly. That's all about to change. This is a new year. This is a big year of growth. I am beyond excited. I'm excited for the company I'm working for part 3 with the plans that we have going forward with that. The groundwork was established in 2024 for this podcast. We saw incredible numbers before, at least like to me, I felt like there's been over 1,000 downloads. So thank you to everyone that's listening on the weekly basis. It was featured in over 22 countries. Like, I don't know how, but it reached a lot of people in that sense. And what a really cool thing to walk into a meeting and people already know who you are of this podcast. So thank you. Thank you for setting the groundwork, setting the foundation. Continue to come back to this and listen, because I want to change this. I really want to take all the knowledge I've done over the last 22 years in CA, and I want to pass it over back to you. I really do. And want to hear topics of that, you guys are stirring on, shoot me a note on LinkedIn. And yeah, I definitely want to talk about it. I want to get on to guest shows. You've already got a couple kind of lined up where I'm a guest on someone else's show. And again, just bring that knowledge, bring that awareness to CA that there is better ways as architects, project coordinators, engineers. We can do better. We can change the game. We can get time back in our daily lives, and by just being more efficient. And all the scenarios that we deal with, everyone's got their stories. You basically, grab a couple of drinks, sit down with someone in CA, then stories can just go on for hours because everyone has their scenario. There is no guidebook to this, but we're trying to do that right here. Okay. And, with the podcast, totally just, again, getting back to CA, just getting to those rich stories, talking about the experiences. What can we do better? How do we even prevent us getting to that story? There is better ways. And guest. I want to have a lot of guests on my show. I've got a lot that have been reaching out, which is good. And I've just got to get them scheduled in. So a lot of that's going to come in. And I think there's a lot of power to that. It's like not even just my knowledge, but now you're sharing it with someone else, and we can bounce ideas, bring back good old memories, good times, talk about it, and just, again, make this a central place for all these memories, central place for all the CA experience. And I want to pass it on to you. And again, whether you've been doing this for 40 years, you might learn something. Probably not. You probably teach me, actually. But, even if you've been doing it for 20, or if you're brand new, I want you to basically get something out of this every time to encourage you, to spur you on and take it to new heights and advance in that career of yours and just be that better person on site in the CA world. So in summary here, if you haven't set your 2025 goals, there is still time. There's never a better time to start than now. get on to it, get back, write them down, like we said. And yeah, make this a year to remember. We've had some really weird years in the previous year. I had a really bizarre last year personally. I'm excited. This is a new year. It's a new me. And this channel, this podcast, we're ready to rock it. So join me each Monday. I'm going to be posting as I normally do. I want to hear your feedback. And ultimately, we're just going to talk about CA and what the RFI. So there you go. There's my inspiration speech for 25. I'm excited. Let's do this. And of course, wrapping this up, architects keep designing and contractors keep making those blueprints a reality. And we'll see you on the next one.